is running. So, all right.
Yeah.
Magic. Finally, we are in.
Got the razzle-dazzle.
Yeah, the razzmatazz. Cool. So, thanks for coming, everybody. Let me get this. It's like some sort of chat something or another going on. I don't know. I want to go to the chat. Or not. It's cool. So, it's like we all played this Dungeon World game together or something.
Yeah, that one time.
That
I know, right?
Times.
A couple of times, and
What a
that
stupid
one
game.
time.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So what's dungeon? What?
Dungeon Defy? Is that what you said? Well, I'm not sure.
How do I?
Is this not Skyrim?
I just.
It can be Skyrim.
I thought I was on a Magic the Gathering web.
Yeehaw, Skyrim.
I'm pretty sure things would get a lot weirder on Magic the Gathering web.
It's Gadget.
Nah,
it's
that's
Gadget the
about
Mathering. Cool. Okay, so this marks 6 months of Dungeon World for us. We're gonna call this the conclusion of season 1. If we include the one shots, we have over 70 hours of content. So congratulations, everyone! Right? We have 70 hours of stuff of the debaucherie. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to sort of just talk through everything that's happened, comment on it, ask questions, make jokes, all that kind of stuff. And we're just going to start from square one. We're going to go through chronologically, not necessarily in the order that we played, because we didn't play everything in the order that it happened necessarily. So the thing we're going to start with is the Tanglewood. This was the very first campaign, and like all classic adventures, it started in a tavern. So we opened up in the tavern, and the group was sitting around, and so I think 2 of you were part of that, Matt and Joel. Did y'all have any sort of pretenses or thoughts about the game when we first started?
No, I actually had no idea what we were gonna do.
Yeah, me neither.
I assumed it was going to be pretty crazy when you told me I could be a barista with cup chugs.
Yeah.
So I was expecting some really crazy stuff.
Yeah. And so the first thing that happened was basically a bar brawl with some minotaurs where you guys, you basically murdered them for being rude to you.
Yeah,
We met an adventuring party.
Yeah.
They started it first.
Yeah.
I definitely was taken aback on that one. I was not expecting to go 0 to 100 like that.
Yeah.
I think one of my first things was like, I stepped behind everybody because I was like, damn, I can't believe these guys are throwing down already.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because you bumped the table that had Grigori the Orc on it, which is a character that I originally just wrote as I created him in the moment, right? I had not created any real NPCs other than the Minotaurs at that point. So, and he sort of persisted everything.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So
I will say, speaking as a DM, that happens.
Yeah.
Fucking
so,
snips.
and then y'all murdered, and y'all looted, and that started the long history of loot everything.
Well, you had talked to us previously about how you had not gotten attached to any NPCs intentionally because you expected poor behavior on our behalf.
Yeah, no, Go ahead.
The funny thing is that it was the 2 smallest people who actually started everything.
It's
the
true.
ones the 2 that weren't even tall enough to look over the tables.
Yeah.
Were the ones who started everything.
Oh yeah, it's the little man complex. I don't know, maybe. But yeah,
the little hand complex.
And so, so still one of my favorite moments is
you're really hands on with that one, dude.
The flying through the air with the glitter trail. So that was pretty much what happened in the first session. Second session, and this was also, it's one of my favorite moments, and it's also one of the worst moments.
I hate you.
I know. Well, it was so because one of our players was late.
Goblins.
Yeah, I just created a side adventure. I was like, cool. Well, you're gonna go like kill some goblins because you think that they've taken your missing party member, and that battle lasted like an hour and a half.
It was
a
forever,
long time.
and they couldn't kill shit.
Yeah, I intentionally made them weak because I thought, well, they can just slaughter these things.
Yeah,
and
well, your intentionally weak, naked female goblin fucked my character up for like 20 minutes. I could not kill that thing for the life of me.
Look, man, it doesn't matter how weak they are. If I got 10 of them around me, that's gonna suck.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I had one and it wouldn't die.
Now listen, I gave you because you guys sent the scout out, and I asked you how many goblins there were, and you said 8. And then fictionally, I did create like 2 more in a tent, so that's my bad. But
No, it was
the original 8. That's you guys, right? So, but yeah, that just went south quick, and the whole time I'm just like, I'm like, oh my god, they're gonna die. And
technically someone did die.
someone did die.
Yep.
Yes.
So the sad thing was that I was rolling not bad,
Yeah.
but the bad thing is I was teamed up with Meep, who was rolling bad, and
Yeah.
so it would just make me fail.
Well, and then you guys got tangled in that net, and you just kept rolling bad for getting out of that net.
Dude.
It was so bad. And
Yeah, it
then
was not good.
missed through the bomb that had the backlash.
Hey, it worked.
Yeah, it did.
No
Well,
backlash.
but you guys ran, leaving three goblins still alive.
They'll remember.
Yeah,
Well, someone had to
man.
tell the tale.
yeah. And then y'all meet up with your comrade, and she had been picking flowers in the woods and stones. So
The whole time.
Yep.
yep, fun times. And so then you moved on into the encampment, which is deserted, and ultimately you meet Lou, who at the time you were unaware was going to be a problem later. For you guys, he was sort of just like this old man who said he might be related to Joel's character Mist, and you set him free, and he leaves eventually, and starts the war that destroys lots of things. So, did you have any thoughts at the time about like meeting the old man, or the zombies, or any of that stuff?
No,
Not really.
I pretty much had a feeling that Lou was going to be an issue later in the story.
Yeah.
Just because of all the video games and anime and crap that I've watched. I just, I had this feeling that it wasn't going to be a big deal at the moment, but it was going to bite us in the ass later.
Yeah.
And it did.
Personally, when I was in games later with Joel's character and his dedication to the daddy issue character trait,
Yep.
I quite enjoyed that. It was interesting to witness.
Yeah. Well, and too, so I had not decided at that time that he was going to be an issue. It wasn't until after the campaign that I decided that he'd be sort of incorporated into what was going on. At the very beginning, when we did the very first session, all I had planned was like, you were going to be in a tavern, and there were going to be some people in there for you to like deal with. And I didn't even decide they were minotaurs until like we were already in game. So.
Deal with meaning slaughter, murder, slaughter. Yeah.
So,
Slaughter and murder.
but yeah, then you guys got into the caverns, where you completely ignored all the signs for the mechanics that I'd set up.
Sure did. I sure love picking locks and going around all that hard crap.
Yeah, because
I thoroughly enjoyed doing that too. By the way, Mike, I just thought I'd let you know.
There were 2 paths, and I intended you for you to have to like eventually do both, and y'all straight up noped one of them.
Yep.
Well,
I want to
it
pick a
helped
lock.
when Joel had like really good.
Yeah, he had,
Welcome.
skills.
yeah, he had good rolls in
Welcome
there.
to RPGs.
Yep.
If you give them path A and B, they will say F and fuck you.
So that was
True.
that was a fun surprise. And then fighting yourselves, was that?
Go through your dungeons.
Did y'all have fun fighting yourselves?
So apparently I was too violent in that fight because I was just smashing people's faces in and
I'm okay
wrecking
with it.
people. Because all I could think is, well, what do? I take my knee and I shove it into their face, and everybody's just like, because I'm wrecking these people that are pretty much my friends.
Yeah.
And everybody was just like, "Yeah, I don't trust you now."
Yeah.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
I only watched you murder me in cold blood.
Yeah.
Without
It wasn't
the party.
it was the one that was in my way.
Yeah. With zero hesitation. It's like I can murder my friends, no problem. I don't care.
It's like cool. I can watch the light leave their eyes without having to feel any guilt.
Yeah. And so then you guys made your way.
Look, man, once you turn into a zombie, you're dead.
Yeah. And you guys made your way to the necropolis. You know, necropolis. And then there were some reveals there. We revealed that Meep's ex-lover was one of the Fae there. We revealed that Mist's mom was the possessed human who was running the whole show. And that she was also the same person that gave Amanita life. So like in the previous session, I gave you guys this scroll of like expel possession or whatever, and like so you had the possessed person, and the whole time I'm like just like exercise her and this will all be okay, and y'all are like, nope, choosing the hard road.
Always.
Yeah.
It happens. I forget about stuff in my pocket all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I learned a lot about pre-planning traps and stuff like that and whatnot. Because
just wait till we get to the next game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, that's too. In the room with the mimic, I had the numbers, and the thing they all had in common was they were prime numbers, and no one got it.
None of us. Yeah, none.
You're like, you know what? We're just gonna trip the trap and deal with it in that way.
Yep, we're like, screw it. I'm done.
Speaking as an
For
audience
most of
member.
us, do you really think we can do the maths?
Yeah. So
That's good.
yeah. So ultimately, you did finally defeat. Oh, and then also Joel's character went beast mode with the.
That's true.
Yeah. So that was fun too. I really enjoyed that. And then y'all got expelled 200 years into the future.
Yeah, I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was surprising.
Yeah, that was one of the few story elements that I put in after the second session. I started writing some story elements for the end, and so that one I put in for you guys to sort of arrive, and it also gave me credence that because after the first game, I decided that we were going to put all the games in the same universe because that was not originally my intent. And so putting you 200 years in the future gave me time to flesh out some stuff before that with other characters and other storylines. Yeah. So and then we had the second time we saw Grigori the Orc, who at the time still didn't have a name because I don't
Right.
like naming NPCs and getting attached to them because they just might die.
Yeah.
So
Look, you should just name him. He majority of the time he's not even in the story, so he just appears, says what you buying, what you selling,
Yeah.
and then he just disappears.
so
I feel called out right now, Matt. No, that's from a different game.
so yeah, and then that concludes sort of the thing. Do you have any questions or thoughts about the thing? Favorite moments from that particular first campaign?
Definitely not the goblins. Was not my favorite part.
No.
Speaking as a viewer, I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta have some interest,
No,
yeah.
it was fantastic.
The whole Meep saying, "Yeah, I'm probably gonna kill Amanita."
Yeah.
Pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say Mist was pretty close to murking Amanita too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Meep had some good one-liners in that one too.
Oh yeah.
It did.
Yeah. Meep had some great one-liners. So and a lot of under the breath stuff that was good. So, but yeah, and also too, it was good. We got to sort of know everyone's characters. We got sort of figured out what everyone's playstyle was, and everyone sort of got a feel for the game too. And like, I only had run 2 dungeon worlds prior to that, and so, and nothing that had run this long. So it gave me a lot of insight as well. So then we moved on to our, well, fictionally we're moving on to the next game, which is Grigori. When everyone leaves the tavern, he's still left sitting there in the mess that they created, and some other characters show up. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. And
Yeah.
yeah. And so that's And did you guys like going back and playing through some of the storylines?
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
That was real fun.
Yeah. So so Gregory the Orc, meets up with Gorham, the troll, who we'd meet later for the first time in some other campaigns. Jeff, the campaign that you guys are in, the old troll dude that you guys were in the caravan with. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He we fleshed his character out a little more. We did a backstory that included him, and so we got some origin for him and stuff like that, which was just cool. And then we also had Amanda's character was Rose, right?
That was Danica, wasn't
sorry.
it?
You've got like 5 characters on it.
Yeah.
So
You keep putting me in. I put new characters. It's fine. You're
Yeah.
like, I'm like, can I use an old character? You're like, no, you have to make a new one. Okay, so that's kind of what happened there.
Well, that was a reuse though, because that was a character that we.
Yeah, that one was a repeat.
Yep.
You want me to bring Rose back up, but yeah, she was only in one.
Yeah, but Danica had died in and what we'll talk about next actually, but we came back and found out how she died, and so that was cool. It was like sort of like a tomb robbing, another tomb robbing sort of adventure, where you guys sort of started off. You guys were in the town for a while, but that was kind of fun. I think going around the town and just like doing town stuff. We weren't murdering anybody or anything like that. We were just like, hey,
you were like, it's nice to have like
just
some
shaking
slice
people
of life
down.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna buy some stuff. We're gonna shake down the troll.
Like literally.
Everyone had a
and
pet.
figuratively shake
Yeah.
someone down.
Yeah. So and that was fun.
Squirrel paw. That was my favorite.
Do we still have Danny?
Danny just looks very upset and frozen.
Yeah.
It was the squirrel
I'd
paw.
be
I got
upset
him.
if I was frozen.
Yeah. So yeah, that was fun. Y'all went in the desert, and y'all were pretty apprehensive about the desert because we hadn't done any campaigns in the desert yet. So
We were just worried about tremors.
I just felt like that was happening so bad.
Yeah, that the
He
Beetlejuice
kept talking about desert and shit, and I was like, oh, jeez. I'm getting pulled down by some damn worms.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought about doing the Tremors or Dune thing, but
Literally ran out of time now.
Land squid.
yeah. Well, yeah. So that's the other thing. So, 'cause there were times where I did have to like cut some content just so we could like make it through the campaign in a timely manner.
Yeah, because we've been goblined.
Yeah.
We were relieved / disappointed about the bone dragon, but
Yeah. Yeah, the Bone Dragon would have come to life had we had more time.
Yeah, when you told me that, I was like, yay / boo.
Yeah. What's up? Danny's back. Hey, Danny.
Am I back?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I could hear everything, but it like switched over to an entirely different channel. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so yeah, that's the once we got into the temple, I had the water there, and the water, had y'all picked it up, would have been beneficial to you later. But I think y'all have been burned enough times where you just don't trust anything anymore.
Yeah,
Pretty
I was so
much.
sad
Oh
because
yes, this was already deep into us doing this.
yeah, I came in and I said I really wanted to play in the water because that was a big thing. I was like, can I go? And you're like, that's your choice. And I walked past and I was like, would it have killed us? And you're like, no, it would have given you kind of superpowers, just a little. And I'm like, oh,
Damn.
dang it.
So
Looks so
does LSD.
refreshing.
Hey, but you yeah, fairy bones. We'll get to that later.
I mean, I kind of figured it out when I poured it on my hand and hit him with it, right?
No, that was a different water. That was water from your canteen.
water
I'm
from
talking
your
about when I
canteen.
first walked into the
Water's
cave.
water, though. I mean,
No, that was magical water. Y'all discerned there
It
was
was
magic,
enchanted flower water.
and you discerned that it was neither good nor bad.
The one I wanted to play in,
Yeah.
Mike told us later it
yeah,
was
the
magical.
ambiguous. Yeah, well, when you ask the DM what it is, and he's being as vague as possible,
So vague.
it makes
so
you
vague.
extremely nervous about
Listen,
any of that stuff.
Some things you can't know until you
Come on, do
experience it, right? So you
Yeah,
just,
now I'm
you
like,
know,
I'll do it next
stick-
time. But
stick
I
your
feel
hand
like,
all
yes,
in that.
exactly.
Half my face.
Yes, that's exactly how I feel like. We're
Well,
gonna
the
pull the
thing
trigger
is-
next time, and we're gonna get burned by it. We'll never do it again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will pull the
The
pin
best
on
part
every
is the
hand
next
grenade.
time should be with Agnar, so he'll pull the pin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I'll
will.
wait for you. You'll be like the royal tester. You'll go out first, and if you don't make it, we won't
Oh,
try
sweet
it.
magical toilet. Fantastic.
Oh. Get you some Go Gotham coming out of that. So yeah, but yeah, so you guys you got into the caves and you fought a couple of different things. You fought the scare beetles; those were fun, I thought.
Those were nasty.
Yeah.
Those were terrifying.
That just made me feel like I have a
was Nathan Drake.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep.
the mummies and
And when they're
scarab
like,
beetles.
"Oh, there's a fuse," I'm like, "No, there's not."
Yeah.
Yep. I have a whole new phobia now. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And then there was the stone dragon. That you guys dispatched that pretty quickly though. Honestly, the
Yeah.
we
stone
did.
dragon.
Told you, you give us godlike creatures, we'll
yeah.
burn it down instantly. You give us little weak paper-like creatures, we will almost die.
Yep. And then
Honestly, my favorite part about those entire set of fights in that cave was just tackling the mummy and be like, "Burn it! Burn it now!"
I was like, hug it with fire.
Yeah.
It worked out so unintentionally beautifully that I had started. I had Fireball on my list,
yeah.
and that
The best
Daniel's
spell
character
You can do whatever.
was fireproof.
Yeah. That was good planning on Danny's part. Although I'm glad he chose that because it made it a lot more interesting.
Well, the thing is, I was like, yeah, we're probably going to end up going into a desert. I should probably get some kind of fire resistance.
Yeah.
That might be fun.
So yeah, that was good though.
I'm just glad you didn't make me drop it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then the god, liked to feed on fire
It's
because
true.
of course he
Right.
did.
Well, it was Baylor. it was an astral projection of Baylor. It wasn't actual Baylor.
We had to have some sort of challenge in the end.
It was basically
we would just burn him down.
it was basically like a Baylor Horcrux, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Baylor Horcrux.
Yep.
Wow.
there was.
Yeah. So, but yeah, you guys got in there with him, and
Horcrux.
you did. Then you sort of you violated him a little bit.
A little bit? You
Yep.
mean a lot of it?
Yep.
Your character was so scarred.
But we did ultimately find out why Grigori had lived for so long, and how he was sort of why he was so central to the main plot. Which obviously, when it all started, I didn't know he was going to be central to everything. He just sort of became a reoccurring character, and then his importance sort of grew and grew over the campaigns. So it was nice to go back and sort of establish that as canon in an earlier time.
Yeah, that was honestly an excellent call.
Yeah.
And then then we also, because he was originally a fighter, and then we got some insight as to why he maybe ended up being a bard. And we also got some insight into Gorm, the troll merchant, as to why he likes merchanting, and why maybe he left behind his life of
He was sad and grumpy.
adventuring. Why he's so sad and grumpy, yeah, because he can't talk to his gods anymore.
Yep.
And then we found out why Danica didn't remember anything about her past. So
Yeah, we Finding Nemo Dory did
Yeah.
the whole way there. Yeah.
but that's your fault because you gave her amnesia.
Okay, well, it was kind of last minute, and it was one of those times where it's like I didn't feel like doing a backstory, and I got punished for it. So
Mhm. Well,
that's
that's
gonna happen.
Yep.
that's
Punishment. That was just good. That was just a good time.
that's
Yeah.
well, so,
Just remember, all
Punishment.
your choices have consequences.
well,
You chose your choice.
it's
Sure did.
that was
I
a
did.
that was a lack of choices, and I like those because whenever you guys give me a lack of choices, that just lets me fill it in however I
I
want.
know.
And be
That
creative.
just lets Mike be like, "Oh, you don't want to do the work? Well, fuck you."
Yeah.
Or my favorite's when you say something and his eyes light up and you're like,
He
shit.
goes, "Oh,
Escape
good."
him.
And
Yes,
I'm
you
like,
know
"No."
something
Yeah.
terrible's gonna happen now.
the worst thing is when
Yes.
he's like,
Scribbling
"I'm not going to use it now,
furiously.
but I'm going to write it down."
I mean,
That's the worst thing.
Yep.
let's be honest. If he wasn't slightly unsettled mentally, we wouldn't have as much fun.
Well, but that's
We-
that's the fun thing. So
make it work.
even with that one with the Grigori campaign, I had not decided what was going to happen after the first session. But when you guys described what you were looking for, when you said it was this pendant with these like snakes and a sun, I was like, man, that sounds. And we had said that Baylor had pendants, but we never actually described their look. We just knew they existed. And because he is kind of like a fire god, the whole sun thing with the serpents on it, it just screamed Baylor at me. And so when you said that, I immediately wrote down. I was like, Baylor's the bad guy in this, and no, it tied in so good though because it gave us the reason why Baylor was set free because the pendant ultimately got fused with the cat that Dylan, I don't know if you watched the last game, but the cat that you guys let loose that summoned Baylor.
The explodey cat.
Yeah.
The
So
one just set on top of the altar.
yeah. So we canonically decided, fleshed out where the cat came from and why he was so important. He was fused with the Horcrux, with Baylor's Horcrux.
Yup.
See, this is why you carry cat-sized sacks.
Yeah.
No, this is why you don't put cats anywhere. You don't bring cats with you nowhere.
This is why you don't have the cat
in
out of the
fairness,
bag.
Codrith accepted his role and became one with the cat.
So, but yeah, that was a fun campaign.
Wow.
So then, and do you have any particular favorite moments or questions you want to ask about the Grigori campaign before we move on?
Yeah, I would say that I think one of my favorite parts about it was as I was starting to get into Grigori, I just decided that in his younger life, he just liked to run and punch stuff blindly, and it has seemed to make it very fun for me to just run around hitting stuff.
Honestly,
I like the merchant shakedown and all the stupid items that he had.
I was like, I'm literally just gonna pick him up and shake him.
Yeah.
And the things that fell out of him were just cracking me up so hard. I will never forget Squirrel Paw Curl.
Yeah. Well, see,
but it's a monkey paw. He swears it's a monkey paw.
Yeah. Well, so those are fun because
the big thing too, I should say, is normally Gorm would be against that.
Yeah.
But because he was there to protect you, he was just like, no, go away, guys.
Yeah. Well, so those are fun moments too because obviously, that town really wasn't Well, I had no intention of you stopping that town. I was like, oh, you're just going to go from where we started to where you're going. And you're like, well, you guys were like, is there a town? And I was like, sure. You stop at a town, and then you're like, is there a guy to talk to buy shady stuff? And I'm like, sure.
There could be.
And so,
I'm
that's
noticing a trend between the games.
Yeah.
The rolls were so bad, though, that
the town sucked. I don't ever want to go there again.
Yeah, we made the worst town ever with our rolls.
In the future, my characters will burn it down if they find it.
That sounds about right for a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's on the map here. It's was it Lenice? That's the town you ended up stopping at.
It is.
Don't go to Lenice.
Right
it
here.
Sucks.
Yep, Lenice.
It even sounds terrible.
Yep.
All the food was rotten.
Don't be going over there to that Lenice.
Yeah,
You ain't getting nothing from it.
Don't do it.
Is that your dad voice?
I went there once, and before I even realized I went through Lenice, there was nothing there.
Passing through this damn Loch Ness monster asked me for $3.50.
$3.50.
Yeah, $3.50. I couldn't get out of there. $3.50.
That was the sand dune monsters. Yeah.
No wonder they keep coming back to us. You give them $3.50.
$3.50 every time.
Damn it, woman.
So moving on. So then we did another side campaign that we came back to. What happens next?
We lost Jeff.
Oh no.
No.
Yeah, we'll keep going. Hopefully he comes back. So then we did the Underworld campaign because we followed Meep into the Underworld and we met some new characters, right?
Good old Jebediah.
Yeah, we met Jebediah Groken, the demon farmer. And
what's wrong with you, Daniel? Why do you keep making all these weird ass characters?
And then
to make it interesting.
Don't you judge?
Honestly, Dungeon World for me is the best about coming up with new characters.
Well, it's the funny thing. It's like he comes up with a character and then he's like, "How can I be more ridiculous?"
Just wait. I will just come up with a Khajet person.
And then we followed Danica into the afterlife because she died because she had no memory. And then we had
magic stick, go explodey.
Yeah. And then we had so we followed Meep, and then there was what was Isaac's character's name? Oh no, it escaped me.
It was the boy.
Ignis. Yep.
Ignis.
For half the campaign.
No, he was a noble who became an immolator who just was this sort of this wide-eyed, naive, noble, almost child. He was young.
Yeah.
He was 18.
For half the campaign, just his character was portrayed as so young. I'd misheard, and for some reason I thought he was 7 instead of 18, and I'm like, "Aw, look at the little guy."
She's like, "Bless his heart."
And then when I found out he was 18, I'm like, "Oh."
Yeah.
Ooh.
So
You're just handicapped.
So you guys wound up. We learned all. We learned all kinds of things about the about how Demon World farms work.
Hot Cheeto cows.
Hot Cheeto cows. Yeah.
Hot Cheeto cow.
But you guys run across some what were they? Possums.
Fire possums.
Fire possums. Yeah. And you really wanted to make them your pets, but they were basically angry and rabid.
Possums.
Yep. And then you guys made the best choice ever. You collected their ashes, and I told you, I warned you.
They were like
Phoenix. They were like Phoenix.
Well, I was the one that had the bestiary books.
Yeah, they'll come back. And but you're like, you know what? We're gonna take them with us anyways. It's like I'm cool, but you're gonna have to roll every so often to.
We would have to defy danger like almost every time we went somewhere.
And that did end up kind of burning you a little bit later on, but not too bad. And then so you guys came to a cliff, and I was like, you're like, oh, how far across is it? And I was like, oh, it's like 4 feet. I was like, 4. You could like easily hop across 4 feet, and you guys made the biggest production. Out of like a 4-foot, cliff, like trying to swing across and falling down. I was like, oh my god, they're gonna die! And it's only 4 feet across.
So bad.
Oh, but it gave me the laughs.
Yeah.
And
it was like the equivalency of like nearly dying in a pothole. It was fine.
I'm drowning. Just stand up. I don't remember how.
If they die,
you gotta roll to see
if
you remember how to.
See, that's the issue, though. If they had tried to step across it, they would have all rolled bad and fell anyway. So
if we, the thing was, at one point we literally had everyone hanging off of, like basically the chain, like Barrel of Monkeys chain style.
There were 3 of you.
Like there was one. Yeah. There was one person hanging off the cliff, and then another person hanging off that person, and another, and we almost misrolled the last one.
I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be like half the campaign.
I was not having a good day that day. He was freaking the fuck out the whole time.
So what I want Mike to do one time, which I think would be funny, is just have a race. Like, you have a bunch of people who are in a race, and you just roll 2d6s for each foot. And if you do bad, it's like, have you ever seen that stick thing where you try and move, like, the characters, and it's really hard?
Oh,
like,
God.
I want that. And so it's just like, if you roll on that one, you're just, like, face plant straight to the floor. And then it's just like, you keep trying, and, you're like a baby deer.
You want to do wacky races.
Yeah. I'm down for that.
Now that I'd be all for.
Yeah.
Grid Simulator.
The
Roll
dastardly
style.
villain.
Yeah. So and then you guys made it into the sort of the government building, where there were some dogs, and initially it was like puppies, and it's like no, they're like demon dogs who really want to kill you. But you did eventually.
Wouldn't let us tame them, so.
You did eventually dispatch them.
Spicy puppers.
And
it was.
With a heavy.
to be fair, I only created those because Danny said he had fist the glue when there were like hellhounds around. I was like, cool. There's gonna be hellhounds. All right. you speak into existence, and there we go. And then.
Well, I wanted to do something that most people don't normally do because. To be honest, most people don't really choose like hey, it glows in the presence of something, or hey, it's just a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, let's make them glow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then Jebediah's horny almost got us killed.
Yep.
With all the bugs.
And then, and that's also because y'all approached a cave.
Suit of armor, yeah.
Y'all approached a cave earlier in that particular game. And I was like, "Oh, what's inside?" And somebody said Mongolian death worms. That I did not create that. All right,
that was me. It's still me.
Yep. So you're like, yeah, it's Mongolian death worms.
What is a Mongolian death worm, and why?
Yeah, well, we never found out, unfortunately.
I also ask why, but
it's like an Alaskan bullworm, but sexier.
Yeah, y'all ultimately decided not to go in.
Lingerie?
But later, when y'all were in the castle, I was like, oh, there's a suit of armor and it's talking to you, and you guys are like, we're gonna go talk to it, and I was like, okay, and so
we were walking past it.
At the time
Jebediah went.
Yeah. At the time, you didn't know, but it was filled with Mongolian death worms, and you all had a conversation with it. Ultimately, you ended up not releasing them, which made me a little sad, honestly. I wanted you to fight the
Well,
Mongolian deathworms.
We literally had to.
Ultimately, they stopped me from
Yeah, we
fondling
slapped
them.
his hand out
Yeah,
of the way.
it's true.
We stopped him from opening the cod piece.
Yeah. So,
I still think that was a bad decision, guys.
and
Surprise! It's death.
then you arrived at
Isn't it always?
Yeah, the gate where Jebediah sort of wanted to seduce Ignis's dead butler,
Jeez.
who like grossly.
As one
I'd already
does.
mated with him before.
Yeah, well, he sort of like grossly crawled out of a mural in the wall, and that got weird for a few minutes. I'm not gonna lie.
Have you seen Jebediah's wife? She grossly crawls out of bed every morning.
I gave him a sandwich, and he wanted to die all over again because he
Yep.
couldn't eat it. It turned to sand in his mouth.
And then because we had Jeb Croken, we when you got into the chamber where the sort of power source that could give the bodies back to the undead, you ended up facing off your brother George W. Croken, who was working there as a government official because he was trying to get into the Senate so he could one day be president of the demon races. But you eventually killed George W.
He tried to seduce him before he found out he was his brother.
Yep.
And
I
then
mean, I still wasn't against it after.
Then two more of our
I mean, they were
characters tried to
pretty deep
seduce him,
south,
and you
so-
said
Yeah.
stop trying to seduce the demons.
Yeah.
You went for the wrong one. They have another brother named Clinton that you should have went for.
Oh no.
Like,
Later. Hold on.
Wait, yeah, we're not done yet.
We're not done yet. Yeah. So then
Hello.
eventually you dispatched him after some fun battle, and you all the mortals tainted the power pool, causing brownouts and problems for the next 100 years. So good for
We
you.
got what we wanted.
Yeah. And then Danny's character Jeb got his enchanted hoe, because that's what he was looking for.
Yeah.
Enchanted hoe.
enchanted hoe.
And then we left off with a letter from Hillary Clinton, who wanted to challenge Daniel's character and when he killed his brother, he took his place in the government, and so she was wanting to fight him because we decided
Oh yes.
that all public office was awarded by combat. So
Highlander
I
rules.
still would not mind a Rocky-style training montage game to beat Hillary Clinton.
da-da-da.
Da-na-na.
So after that, we moved on and went to our next campaign, which was the Fall from Grace. So that was Danny, Amanda, Dylan, and Mike T, who's not with us right now.
Yes, the rise of Agnar and Kadra.
Yep. So
Kratos to praise.
And Kratos T-Rex skin pamphlets.
yeah. So that gives
This was my introduction into Dungeon World too.
yeah.
too.
And so we started off in some trenches, some war trenches, and we had the fictional Quad Av Ninja Turtles, but they were very briefly met. You just sort of met them, and they went off on their own way. And then we met Remy.
Remy was
Yep.
the one that went with the turtles.
No, Denny went with the turtles, and Remy went with you guys.
Ah.
Yep, the two brothers, and so you guys met this sort of this older man, and he walked through the tunnels with you guys, and you feared some zombies, and then you fought a necromancer,
Sounds
who
right.
so at the time you didn't know, but he was Regan, who was actually Remy's son.
Oh, Regan.
Yep. And Regan,
Massive asshole.
Regan, I didn't originally design to be a reoccurring character, but he did. He kept popping up. And Remy gave his life for you guys to stop the.
And a sweet ass ring.
Yeah, he handed you his ring and said, "Hey, give this to my son." And so yeah, he dies, but
Punched it straight into his forehead, so that was giving it to
Yeah.
him, right?
so you guys disabled the cannon, but unfortunately, I think the explosion happened. And so you then devised a plot, and I do remember I gave you options, right? I was like, "Oh, you can do this, you can do that, or you can go back in time," and you guys were all like, "We're going back in time."
Of course.
Yeah,
Let's
You always
do
choose
the
to go back in time.
warp again.
yeah. And so typically with most of the campaigns, I'd only planned like the initial like session, and then from whatever happens in that initial session, then that's sort of where I built the rest of the sessions off of. And so when you guys like, we're gonna time travel, I was like, cool. And I knew to myself, I was like, okay, they're gonna time travel, but ultimately I want them to be the cause of the explosion,
Yeah.
And so then it was just the journey of figuring out how that happens. But so yeah, you guys travel back in time, and then you had sort of a quest where you're going to go get some. Well, you had to like get all the pieces that would allow you to go back in time. So you had to go like rob a museum, and that was a fun experience because
that was great.
Yeah, well, that session opened up with you guys because I was like, I wanted to do something like sort of just like right off the cuff, like we're going to do something, and so I was like, cool. The session opens up with you guys running through the woods. What are you running from? And you guys were like, T-Rex.
I think that was me that said T-Rex.
Probably, yeah. And so I was not expecting that, and so, but it was great. I was like, cool, T-Rex. All right, let's do it. And then that's also too the T-Rex being explosive. I mean,
yeah, that became a huge thing later.
Yeah, that was a fun mechanic.
I forgot about that for a while.
Yeah, I sure did. Well, and we're going to cover that. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think we all forgot.
Yep. So the T-Rex being explosive was another thing that I sort of decided on the fly, but it was such a fun mechanic that we got to use it later. So yeah, you took on the T-Rex, and then we introduced Danny's character. Danny came in as a sort of a switch hitter because we had another person lined up, and they had troubles connecting in the first session, and they sort of were like, I'm just not feeling it, and so Danny was gracious enough to like, hey, like I'll come right in and slide in and do this, and was a good addition to the team, I think.
Oh yeah.
And so yeah.
Now I want to say a couple things about Agnar.
Yeah.
Originally, I was gonna plan on him being more like a Conan the Barbarian instead of giant goofball.
Yeah.
But it seems like anytime I start like a new like tabletop style game, like when I started with Dungeons and Dragons, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna create this cool badass barbarian, and then it just became like a complete cheese.
Yeah.
And that seems to be like a trend anytime I start a new game is to make just a giant cheese.
Hey man, you need the cheese. The cheese is fun. So, but yeah, so you guys defeated the T-Rex, and then it came time to like sneak into the city, and so like I was expecting some element of stealth in sneaking to the city. And that did not happen.
It was stealthily beat down.
That didn't happen.
Yeah, it's like Danny's character
With the
just was
initial
like,
city, we did try initially stealth, though. I think we sent the warrior for some reason.
You said
Three of us tried stealth. One of us negated the stealth.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything initially, did I?
No,
it wasn't you.
Yes.
Okay, I was like, I tried.
I had initially tried to distract while y'all stealthed in, since I was like the only like actual human dude there.
Yeah.
That's
with no magic, because if I remember correctly, everyone else had magic, or was obviously something that shouldn't be there.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, hey, maybe if I distract them, herp a dirt.
Yeah. So yeah, you went to waltz in, but you were fooling no one. And
you were getting the crap just kicked out of you.
Then that's why we sent you. I couldn't remember why we sent the fighter to distract.
So yeah, and then you guys had to bail him out, and that just turned into a whole debacle. And then you ended up with some mildly bloody uniforms that you were going to sneak in with. And you were almost caught by some guards, but you managed to talk your way out of it. And they were still leery. They're like, "Oh, we're going to check up on you later."
Didn't I play like kind of a half-ass song, and they went, "Okay."
Yeah, they're like,
They're kind of confused.
Bards.
And then
Bard do the Bard thing. Okay.
Yeah. And then we met Grigori the Orc again. This is sort of the second time in the actual games themselves that I had introduced him, and he was the one who sort of gave you the map of the museum and stuff like that. And for me at the time, it was like, oh, just a nice little tie-in, and whatever, he's there, and I still didn't have like any major plans for him at that point in time.
You were afraid for his life.
Yeah, because you guys could have killed him.
You should have been with this party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you guys didn't start off murdery, but you just became.
I was about to say we at least. Well, I mean, more, obviously the other characters changed a little too, but like Melody was supposed to be like this happy-go-lucky, like naive bard, and she was like painting her face with blood by the end of it. We watched her descent into madness. It was fine.
I think what really turned us murdery, what really turned us murdery is when we went into the bar and started fighting things, and I'm like, holy shit, Kratos is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all converted at that point, and I went from singing about like trees and flowers to death and destruction.
Yeah. And you guys,
you went metal.
Well, I'll tell you. So when you guys were sneaking into the museum, I was I was expecting a little more like stealth in there, and like for rolls or whatever reason, y'all just really. I mean, you ended up murdering 2 guards, and that was not stealthy at all.
I was perfectly stealthy in my own strong, heroic way.
Yeah.
Remember, if there's no witnesses, it still counts.
Still stealth, yeah.
Yeah. And then you went to the caverns, and you fought sort of this angel golem to get the artifact you needed to sort of get you to the time travel, and you blew it up. You blew it up with the T-Rex blood, which was pretty fun.
Yeah.
You're like, you know what? I throw T-Rex blood at it, and then I light it on fire.
We always just took weird things from, like, we looted such weird things from the enemies. I remember I took the T-Rex eye and threw it like a banana peel in Mario Kart. Yeah, and it worked.
Then you were escaping from the city because your cover had sort of been blown, and as you were escaping, you tossed the eye and tripped up one of the guards with the T-Rex eye, which is it's a good use of sort of like things. And then you guys had to go save because you had gone to a town after that, just sort of on your way, and it's sort of the middle of the night, and these mercenaries are looking for you, and once again, Agnar just sticks his head out the window and is like, "Hey guys!" And of
this
course,
is where the descent really
in front
began.
of it.
yeah.
Yes.
And the mercenaries have started setting the sort of the town on fire and everything, and so you guys got into a bar fight while the bar starts catching on fire and burning down around you.
We stole alcohol.
And looted the alcohol.
You sure did.
Stole
You did
alcohol.
manage.
I was straight eating people left and right. Just, hey, here, have a horn, have my axe, have a table.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you had excellent rolls in that bar fight.
They were
Praise be to Kratos.
Yep. And then you did eventually manage to escape, and in your escape, you got word that Azar's father and also Grigori the Orc had been captured and taken prisoner. And you could have abandoned them. You were like, oh, we're going to go back in time, so maybe it won't matter or whatever. So we're going to go but you decided ultimately that it was best to save them, maybe on the off chance that you didn't succeed later. And then here again, you had the opportunity for stealth, right? Because you guys came up on the caravan. You were still in the woods, and she was, you see them. They got stopped by there was a boulder on the road, and so you had the element of surprise. And sure enough, Agnar just strolls out and is like, "Rah!" And then fight ensues, right? But you guys,
I still feel very good about slamming the Minotaur's head into the ground. Just no, down.
Yeah,
it was pretty funny. Yeah,
and
I was the only one that went to save the prisoners.
Yeah, and
we really couldn't get by.
Yeah,
and I was dying.
Agnar's a meat shield.
And you guys,
I went the way of the Minotaur and got railroaded.
Oh my,
Sounds
that's
about
a
right.
different film.
And you learned that the sort of the guy leading the escort was Regan, who is Remy's son. Now you didn't know at the time that he was the necromancer, but you did sort of trade blows with him. You killed all the Minotaurs, and then Remy got away. But you
Don't forget, I punched him with his father's ring.
You sure did.
Specifically.
Yep. And he was not happy about
Dad
that.
says hello.
Yeah, he did. He was not a fan of his own father. And then you guys, freed Grigori and Azar's father, and I think Agar made some new weapons for a couple of people too while you guys were there.
Melody.
Yep.
Yeah, mine was the if I remember, it was a crossbow, but it was also a stabby stick.
Yep. Yeah, because you just had a regular bow, I think, originally, and you ended up with a crossbow.
It was a saber crossbow, something like that.
Yeah. It was a crossbow with a bayonet.
It's like a bayonetic. Yeah.
Crossbow,
Mhm. And so then you guys ended up in the Tanglewood Forest, but you know it as the Forgotten Forest, where you ultimately sacrificed Azar's grandfather's staff to sort of grant you access to time travel.
I had originally talked about sacrificing a party member because I wasn't really sure how that worked.
I took a kneecap around that time.
No,
and that started the.
Yeah, you
that
did.
Wasn't the first
that was the kneecap. Yeah. Yeah, because the entrance to the caverns. Yeah, that's when you guys had the. Yeah, you guys were killing me.
That was the first kneecap.
The first kneecap.
One of you was like, I attacked the kneecap, and I was like, okay, cool, you attacked the kneecap. And then someone was like, I also attacked the kneecap. And then the other one was like, I also attacked the kneecap, and I was like, oh my god, everyone's attacking the kneecap.
We may not kill him, but we will cripple him.
Yeah, but I rewarded you for the kneecap. You harvested it, and you got an item imbued with the power of Kratos.
It was a power amulet.
Yeah.
The power kneecap.
Yep. So then you guys, you traveled back in time only to discover that the Ninja Turtles were actually bad guys. Because you found the other cannon just broken, which I don't think anyone was questioning too hard. Like, if this cannon's broken, why does the explosion still happen?
What threw me off was the fact that the Turtles were the bad guys. I thought it was going to be the brother. I was ready to kill him.
Yeah.
We all
Honestly,
were very
Agnar never questioned why he was there. He's just like, cool, murder.
Yeah. And so that was the thing too, because right before that happened, and this was another one of those things that just sort of defined the world in a way that I had not originally expected, because I think, Daniel, you were having problems with your camera, and so we were like, oh,
yeah.
Well, your character's just off chasing cats, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And,
because one of my secrets was I was very attracted to small, funny, fuzzy animals.
And so when you returned, the cats were around, and so Dylan was like, I scoop a cat up in my bag, right? And
I originally caught one and threw it at the enemy.
Yeah.
We were so excited. We were like, "Can we get a pet?" And you're like, "Sure."
Yeah. And so Dylan scooped
and
the
then I
cat.
procured a bag from my random assortment of supplies I could choose.
Yeah.
And so you got yourself a cat, and so you guys defeated the Ninja Turtles, and then you had Denny, who you sort of patched up. He was still pretty injured, and you guys made your way to the temple, and everyone was dead at the temple, which was pretty weird for you guys. Did you have any thoughts? Like, did you wonder like what happened, or did you have any speculation at that point?
Wasn't that around the time that I was having to basically break the news to Denny about Remy, and like you were like, "Oh, you're the bard, like you have the highest charisma. Maybe you can break it to him gently." And you're like, "What do you say?" And I'm like, "Turn into people confetti." Cannon and turn into people confetti.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know if that's very comforting.
Nope.
And I'm like,
sorry.
guy doing what he loved, and then I just kind of walked away.
Yep. Yeah. So, and then you found the necromancer who you fought with, and then eventually discovered the necromancer was actually Regan. And you fought him for a while because he was trying to tamper with the altar that the Fae had been like guarding, and they were trying to like resurrect, or not resurrect. They're trying to access the magic power inside, essentially. I
was also supposed to have dibs on the altar.
Yeah. So
that didn't happen at all.
Yeah, and so you ended up thwarting him, and he ran away. But he left you the warning, basically saying that if you unleash that power, that it's going to be a problem. So about that time, because Dylan had released the cat from he let the cat out of the bag, right?
He sure did.
Yeah. I didn't directly put the cat on the altar, if I remember.
No, you just released him.
You just released it, and it was now.
And he jumped up on the table.
It was free roaming.
Didn't I throw it at Regan? Was how it got out?
Yeah, you did. You threw it at him.
Oh, I thought that.
You Pokemon'd him.
Yeah, you Pokemon'd him.
Yeah,
because I know that Agnar did something with a cat that made it to where all cats hated him, and he had like.
That initial fight where I first caught the cat, and you did a cat at one of the enemies.
Yeah,
you sure did. It went poorly.
Against Regan, I think I took the bag, I shook the bag a whole lot, and then just pointed it in his direction and opened it.
Oh,
and so, and it was so. I knew that the altar was going to release a god and that you were going to have to fight the god, but I still had no clue as to how you were going to end up releasing the god, right?
Catalyst.
Yeah, I didn't know what the catalyst was, and as soon as Dylan let the cat out of the bag, I was like, "That's it." All right,
Really?
like to myself, I'm like,
the
cat's gonna be the catalyst. Puns.
So many puns.
But yeah,
so such a catastrophe.
Yeah, so I was like, cool. Yeah, the cat walks across the altar and it explodes, and the god comes out.
That was so sad.
And so yeah, then you guys had a bout with the god, and ultimately it caused the explosion that wiped out the town there, and you guys were the reason for the reason that you went back in time in the first place, which was just nice.
I also want to say during that entire fight, just to really just pound in the knowledge that gods mean nothing and goblins can kill everything.
Yeah.
I took almost no damage that entire fight while a god was literally smacking me around. I'm like, wow, I just bump into a wall. Sweet.
Just further evidence that you give us shit enemies, we will most definitely die. You give us gods, and we're untouchable.
Yeah.
It also fueled Kadra's descent because he got to become a holy avatar of Kratos and whoop a god's ass for a few minutes.
You became the Kratos avatar for just a little bit.
It's all a lie.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun too. So yeah, then at the very end, of course, here we go again. Grigori the Orc shows up, and he sort of gives you like some background on the gods and what's going on. And even I didn't know at the time when we decided this later that he had foreseen the whole thing, and that's sort of why he was always around. But that also, like at the end of that, when I brought him in, that sort of solidified for me that maybe he was going to be play a more important role in the future events, which was fun because I mean you guys have sort of like not killed him yet, So do you guys have any like favorite moments from that particular campaign, or any questions you wanted to ask me about like what was going on at the time?
Honestly,
I loved most of it.
Since that was like my first intro into Dungeon World, I wasn't 100% sure how I was gonna be playing characters.
Yeah.
Which is why I ended up just kind of goofing around a bit, but like there was kind of a bit of a tonal shift for Agnar between this one and the next one he was in.
Yeah.
Where, I started getting my stride. I'd already done a couple one-offs and stuff. I was like, okay, I basically get how the game is played.
Yeah.
It was my...
it was very fun to get into.
Yeah. So,
it was my introduction as well. It was really, really fun. And it was, like I said, there was a shift from the beginning of my character to the end. And I think one of my favorite parts was when we were... basically the bar was burning down and the guy's like, please don't burn our bar down, as we proceeded to burn his bar down and loot his alcohol and just walk out casually as we left him in there and everything burned around.
Honestly, that entire fight was the best. I literally threw an axe into someone's chest.
Yeah.
Well, that was about the time where the guys were looking for us. Like the guards were looking, and you literally leaned out the window and went, "Hey, we're up here."
Yeah.
In fairness, he did also talk us out of that fight too, and then we proceeded to fight anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least
I
one of
managed
them.
to get one of my old mercenary buddies to be like, "Yeah, I don't want to fuck with you." After I proceed to chuck people literally all over the bar.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, cool.
As for
I'm
the
out.
bar owner, he threatened me with a broom, as I recall, and we ain't having that shit.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the campaign that gave us the T-Rex pamphlets too, which was just a fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun.
Oh god, that was so much fun.
Pamphlets to the greatest god out of the most.
Somehow the pamphlets even made it into like the one-offs and stuff like that. Like the inside jokes have bled into the one-offs.
Yeah, I mean, why not, right?
Yeah. Now the pamphlets have spread. Kadrith is truly a saint.
So,
just for you to know, Dylan, I do plan, whenever I do play more with Agnar, he's now searching for a new priest to take your place, because all he is basically a paladin for whatever priest for Kratos.
Cool. So, yeah.
You gave Dylan so many ideas right there, you know that, right?
Yes.
So
we do have we do have one more why can't I think of the name? We do have one more priest-like character in the bunch, but yeah.
Yeah. So so the next thing that happened is the Lost Properties campaign. This was a sort of a side campaign for Joel's character Mist, so that started off with just like some stuff had been stolen, right? And you're just gonna go get it back. This campaign didn't have a lot of necessarily bearing on the main story. There were a few elements that did, but by and large, there wasn't a lot of like major plot points. This was just sort of like a fun thing to do on the side. It is where we introduced Gorm the troll, who didn't have a name at the time because, like I said, I don't like to name things when y'all might kill them. Because that's just things for me to have to remember later.
Yeah.
If you know, we got a little insight into the Thieves Guild that Joel's character Mist was from, and
what was left of it.
What was left of it? Yeah. It had been ravaged by, and this is where the cliche that, and it's the only time that happened. But this is the cliche where Joel's like, things always fall from the ceiling.
And then they came from the ceiling. That's weird.
It was only the one time.
I don't know, man.
Yeah. So, so yeah, you guys met the troll, and then you guys also had some dealings in the Tar capital while you were there. What did you guys do there? You were there for a reason. Oh, that's where the Thieves Guild was. That's right.
Yeah, we were going to the Thieves Guild.
Yep. So you were there for the Thieves Guild, and then that's where we sort of met for the second time in a campaign. Regan, you guys fought him on the outside. He was the war hero, and he eventually ran away, and you got away from him. And you guys sort of went to the town where the campaign had originally started, and it was the burned down town, the one that had just been burned down in the previous campaign. That you got Danny and Amanda and Dylan's characters all burned down. Well, it was burned down.
No, we just burned down the bar, but apparently we burned down a town.
Well, the town was burned down as they were trying to flush you out.
Okay.
So as a result of you, it was burned down. I guess you didn't necessarily cause it, but then we ended up back in the Tanglewood Forest, where we found out that Goblin civilization had advanced. And we also, I guess, prior to that, had stopped off in sort of the town of Ignis, which was the sort of where the Resistance had like retreated to. This is what was left of the Resistance. This is where Azar's parents lived. This is where this is near the area where Grigori actually lived. And we met Grigori again this time. We met him in a bar where he sort of like had a little information about what was going on. And then there was some spiders killed, and Mist loved the spiders.
Yeah, the spiders.
Yeah. And got some
spider kebabs.
Weapon and equipment upgrades at the time, so that was probably pretty good.
And we shoved off some eggs on somebody.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Yep. And so yeah, but we ended up back up in the Goblin culture. Also, that town is where we met Tweeg, the sort of Goblin sorcerer. Who had defected from the Goblin sort of commune to seek a life of maybe more peace and intelligence. But we did find that Goblins had evolved a good bit in the last 200 years. They were a little more of a civilized race because, Joel, you and your party got captured, and they were using the Fae. They were using the Fae to create a portal because they had a sense that the end of the world was coming, and so this was a fun one for me because you guys were like, hey, like, because they were shooting, they'd activated the portal sequence. The beam was shooting into the portal to try and open it, and you guys had asked me like, hey, like, is there anything like that might cause a problem with this portal? And I was like, yeah, if foreign magic is introduced into this, like, it'll cause a problem. And you guys like, okay, cool. And so like we make Lugas, Dusty's character, like we make him invisible, and then like he's going to go stand in the way of the portal. He's not magic, so it won't matter. Like the whole time I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, but he's covered in magic to be invisible. But whatever.
It turned out for the better, if you ask me.
Technicality.
So yeah, he stands in front of the beam and opens a portal to hell, essentially, unleashing this sort of giant monster. And then the goblins and the fae and the party are all fighting this sort of giant beast thing. And that was fun too. I think that was the first time that we ever did any mechanics where like NPCs were aiding in a fight.
Yeah, I believe that was the first time.
Yeah, and so I actually like that a lot. That was kind of fun to have, like, it wasn't just you guys. There was other elements that were a part of it. But the Plague Beast did end up wiping out most of the goblins. There was some left over, but not a lot.
Good.
And you guys did manage to set the Fae free, and you rescued Chris's character's parents, and then also I think there's some other ones in there that you rescued. And I think that's pretty much it for that campaign, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you covered everything pretty well.
Yeah. Any favorite moments from that you enjoyed?
Yeah, I enjoyed fighting the quote-unquote Plague Beast.
Yeah.
I thought that was very interesting as soon as he crossed that beam, and you were like, you fools.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, what's happening?
Yeah.
I guess we're fighting a demon boss. Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wrong, man.
Yeah, he had like a truck too. I mean, he was.
Oh, he sure did.
He
made it interesting.
Yeah, and that's when so Meep came back. The portal opened, and Stan, who you had on you the whole time.
Yep. Run into the portal.
Ran into the portal, and
ungrateful bastard.
Yeah, and then Meep came out, and so we got Meep back into the world, and that was another thing where like I when we first started that campaign, I had no intentions of bringing Meep back, but when I started doing the notes for the last session, I was like, oh well, I'm gonna have this portal to like the underworld, and then I messaged Meep's owner Tate, and I said, hey, would you be interested in bringing this character back, because there's gonna be like an opportunity fictionally to do so, and she was like, yeah. So I think that was just a fun little like just a nice little nod to what we'd done in the past. But yeah, and I think that sort of resolved everything in that one. The next campaign to follow that is the Prison Break. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
That was fun.
The Prison Break. That was one of my favorite ones. Yeah.
That was
good.
That was real nice.
Yeah.
I honestly had so much fun with the character development for that, because I was 100% like, all right, we've been playing some pretty like chaotic but generally good characters.
Yeah.
It's time to come up with someone who would actually be in prison.
Yeah, I mean, when you're doing it in prison, and you're told, hey, you're gonna be one of the prisoners, that gives you all the license to sort of like, create a bad character. And
honestly, coming up with animals that are technically evil was probably my favorite part of that whole thing.
Yeah. And so we and the Prison Break was sort of something that we had sort of just mentioned, because we did Divine Rage, and that happened. We did it before Prison Break, even though the Prison Break happens chronologically before. So it's one of those things where we said, hey, this happened. And it was really, to me, it was fun to go back and sort of revisit, like, okay, we said it happened, but now we get to flesh out, like, how it happened. Yeah, I mean, we find Danny's character is a prisoner. We find that, Matt, say, your character is a prisoner. And then, like, Amanda, your character worked for the prison. And then, Joel playing Mist is infiltrating the prison to save Matt. So, I
was a terrible prison employee, but yeah.
And so just like the others, so that's one of those where I was like, I had like a setup for the first session, and that was it. It was only after the first session where I was kind of figured out where it was going. So you guys get in the prison, and sort of Mist infiltrates it as a contract worker for the prison, and then we learned that Danny's character has got this whole organization that he works for, which certainly we'll use in the future because they exist in this world, and their dedication.
Well, the big thing I was coming up with when I was coming up with COVID was I was like, I want to give something to Mike that he could work with in the future, and I'm like, what's better than an up and coming evil organization?
Yeah. So, yeah, that'll be some fun for later.
Yeah.
So, did you guys have any thoughts or pretenses going into the prison campaign? Did you have any anything that you were looking for or interested in?
My thought was I won't die, so I can do what I want.
Yeah,
that was
I was kind of
a fun, freeing.
wanted.
That was a freeing thought.
I wanted a little more chaos in that. I think we got off a little bit easier than we should have. We even ended the campaign early because we found the exit.
Yeah.
But because when we had the option to release all the prisoners, part of me wanted to see what would have happened if we'd pushed that button.
Yeah.
Right. That would have been so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Missed opportunity there, but we knew that we could possibly kill ourselves, except for Mist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That is the only drawback to sort of like a flashback session is that if your character exists in the future, then they can't die, right? Fictionally speaking.
Exactly. True. But that's not a drawback for me.
Or
me.
Yeah. So
Thorin knew he got out because it was his story.
Right. Yeah. You knew you were released eventually, that you made it out and you lived.
Yeah.
But even so, it's more about the how, not the what.
Oh yeah.
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 It was definitely fun though.
Yeah. So I gave you guys sort of the agency to say, because I think from his character I was like, you were given like another task, who gave it to you, and he was like, oh well, like Grigori gave me the task, right? And so we ended up putting Grigori's cousin in fictionally to or his nephew, sorry.
Yep.
That you had to save.
Dirty nephew.
Yeah.
I think that my favorite part of that campaign was just like the over prevailing, like the continuing joke of just Mist and Matt's character Thorn just being so terrified of just pissed off that there were goblins, just like brain dead goblins everywhere.
Oh yeah, when you guys walked into that room with a hanging cage,
and they were like, oh no,
yeah, there's some messed up goblins.
Yep. No.
And listen, had y'all pulled that lever,
and Mist was being so sure that lever was going to work.
The cage would have dropped and the doors would have opened, and you'd have been like knee deep in goblins. And listen, because who was it?
Miss Paranoia paid off. We did not pull that lever.
I think it was Thorin's character, because you rolled poorly, and like
you were like, that lever needs to be pulled.
You're like, we were like,
no.
Yeah, Thorin was like, we gotta pull it. No.
I'm pretty sure we should pull that lever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do some flips.
So, yeah, that was, and then you sort of killed the warden and sort of made your way out, and, are there any so did y'all have like favorite moments or / questions about that?
Oh God, yes.
I
fucking loved everything about the warden.
Yeah. The warden was a sick guy.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part was the fact when Daniel messed up his role and turned into a hybrid dog spider thing, and I rode him into battle.
I'd almost forgotten that.
Yup.
Oh, that was
still evil, still counts.
Creepy.
Oh, and that one guy with the sandwich, and we kept being like, "What kind of sandwich did he have?"
That's like I was some guards
in the middle of a fight, eating a sandwich.
Like, you guys were more concerned about the sandwich than the fight itself. What kind of sandwich is it?
Well, to be fair, as the head of an evil organization, food comes priority.
Yeah, sure.
Got to keep the strength up.
So, but we finished that up, and we would later find out that that Amanda's character, that one was Rose. That one was Rose.
Yeah, that was Rose.
Yeah.
Temperance Rose.
Rose. So that your character ultimately ended up joining sort of the Baylor Army war camp, which that was nice too. It was just a nice tie-in for that character. So yeah, we move on from the prison campaign, and that brings us to Divine Rage, which was where things had gotten bad, and sort of you guys were called by Grigori to basically try and stop the war that the gods were trying to put on. This is sort of the point where Grigori's character becomes the most important, because he's the one who assembles everyone. He had been in all the different campaigns.
He's the Nick Fury of
he is.
universe.
Yeah, he
pretty
is.
much.
It started with a team.
Yeah, so he called you guys together like the Avengers, and the very dysfunctional Avengers. I guess the Avengers are dysfunctional.
I was about to say discount.
We are the Revengers.
The Revengers.
That sounds about right.
No, I think
more than others, but yeah.
Avengers sounds more.
Avengers.
The
Avengers. We get vengeance beforehand.
Yeah, and so this brought together all the characters at once, which was nice. For me, anyways, because it was nice to sort of just have everyone together in one campaign. I mean,
it was really fun having a big party.
Oh yeah, I mean,
nice.
It got chaotic, and I was concerned about obviously the turns.
Amount of people.
Yeah, because it just takes a long time to resolve. Like we ended up having, I think, 8 people. It could have been 11. I invited 11 people to that game. So, but I think eight was a good number. I don't know that I even wanted to have done more than 8, but but it worked out, I think. But you guys, we spent the first session of that, sort of everyone just sort of meeting and getting together, and that was pretty much it, I think.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. That first one was just all of us talking about the beginning.
And so
it took the
and
whole
me
time.
handing out pamphlets.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
And me converting a T-Rex to the service of Kratos.
Yeah.
Via undead.
Yeah. So you guys all traveled to the seafaring town, and that was fun too, because that was sort of the one of the times where I was just like, hey, what are you doing? You're in town. What do you want to do?
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts of it.
Oh yeah, when we entered into the brawl fight.
Yeah. Well, that's one of those where, like, I said, what do you want to do? And they're like, cool, we go get enchanted items and drugs and enter a tournament and go to the docks. Right. And so y'all
Why wouldn't we?
You entered a tournament where you ultimately faced another T-Rex, killed it, and then made it your undead slave, Dylan.
I was excited about that. I'm always happy when we are able to enslave animals.
Undead, and you gave me.
If I remember correctly, didn't Agnar get Nookie?
I will.
I don't know.
I will say my favorite moment of that game is the fact that we had all 4 people from that campaign, and not one of them remembered that T-Rex blood was exclusive.
Yep. Listen,
y'all literally had no excuse. You had your whole party members.
We had
Mike even tried to save us, and I negated it. Mike was like, "You can't bring this on the ship," and I was like.
Yeah. So I
rolled to convince.
Yeah, you guys show up with the T-Rex, and I'm like there's
successful.
Like, listen, there's like no way like the anyone of sound mind is gonna let a T-Rex, an undead T-Rex, which they may have not known at the time, but a T-Rex onto like a ship. And so I was like, yeah, you'll show up, and like, because it was Tweeg, the
yep, it sure
goblin.
was.
And you guys show up, and he's like, nah, man, nah. And you're like, pretty please, and he's like, okay. But like the whole time, internally, I am screaming. I'm like, no.
In fairness,
I mean, it worked in our favor.
It did.
It did, but I gotta tell you, I had the worst feeling in the pit of my stomach that we were all going to drown in the middle of the ocean because of this.
Listen,
like when I found out that it was explodable, like I was like, oh man, like what are we gonna do?
Well, that's the thing. Like you're like,
to be fair, that whole boat scene was fantastic.
Yeah, well, so for
brilliant.
for the party, like I needed the boat to make it to the island. I was like, I did not want the T-Rex to explode on the ship. Now, it was always an option because it's the world, right? You made choices and there are consequences for choices. So
we did make choices.
It could have exploded on the ship.
It sure could have.
That was always an option. I'm glad it was not the case, but like I didn't rule it out.
We got lucky.
But then
I mean, it exploded on a ship.
It sure did.
Yeah, it did.
In one of my favorite
some like
scenes,
cartoon-esque moves.
Yeah, well, the ship departs, right? And so you guys make your ways down to the sort of like the pub that's on the ship, and I described the room to you, and I intentionally like.
Oh no! I know what you're gonna bring up.
Yeah, I intentionally put this witch on it, right? And we knew that they were because you guys had used the troll to get to you used his sort of services to get to the
I'm so mad. I want
which I would also like to point out that. At this point, I was like, "Oh my God, they're all a bunch of murderers."
Yeah. Well, so
you weren't wrong.
So Gorm.
Well, I didn't want to sleep, but then what else? What were you gonna do?
Gorm had boxes of stuff, and you guys are like, "Oh, what's in it?" And I'm like, "Oh, he tells you it's robes." Now, fictionally, I had already decided that it was goblin bones. Right? I was like, that was one of the things where I was like, he has goblin bones. He's going to take him on the ship. There's going to be a problem eventually involving the goblin bones. So you guys are like, he's got robes. I want to get one of his robes. And I'm so glad you rolled bad because you would have opened it had you rolled good, and you would have seen that it was like ashes and goblin bones, and there'd have been some conversation at that point. But luckily, it wasn't the case. But you got on the ship, and I specifically detailed the witch. I was like, oh, this woman, she's kind of like a witch, and she's by herself, all alone in a corner in the dark. Like, I made her unapproachable, right?
No, man, we don't judge.
Yeah, I was like,
just because it's a witch in the corner in the dark.
Have you ever seen a fantasy setting plot hook?
Right. Well, and
they have allowed Agnar to be in this group. Of course, we'd go talk to a witch.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm the person that's going to talk to the weird person in the corner. That's just who I am. It carries over into a character, to be honest.
I had designed her to specifically raise the goblin bones. It was always my intent for you guys to fight undead goblins, but like. For me, it could have happened at any point in time. I was like, well, it could happen when you're on the island, right? Because these crates are going to the island. They're going to go serve Baelor. She is an acolyte of Baelor. So I was like, this could happen at any point in time. So, but I just wanted to put it there so that like later when it showed up, it wasn't like, well, where'd these show up from or whatever. Like it made sense because I had laid the groundwork for it before. Mm-hmm. But Amanda's character.
You looked interesting.
I was like, do you do anything? She's like, yeah, I go talk to the witch, and I'm like. Okay. And so then I gave you every opportunity to not give yourself away. And it's like the witch says, "Oh, hey, what are you here for?" And you're like, "We're here to kill Baelor." And she's like, "You probably shouldn't tell people that."
Look, man, she's like a butter knife. She's cutting straight through that shit.
Yeah.
she ain't got no time for play.
Once you revealed yourself and your intent to the acolyte
get out of the way.
Baelor,
we're gonna have to find him anyway.
I was like, cool. She starts singing, and at that time you don't know that necessarily that's the case, but she's singing her song, and then Dylan had gone down had bought drugs and gone down into the basement.
He's gonna go steal us some
give them to the T-Rex. God only knows why.
Because I wanted to see what would happen. You gave me drugs and a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
With explosive blood.
What did you think was gonna happen when you did that?
Did you? Matt, did you ever think we'd be the two best behaved people in the group? Did you ever imagine?
No.
Matt, a secret for you. When I'm not running the game, all bets are off. I'm going to do the dumbest shit to make up for all the dumb shit I have to watch y'all do.
I have played enough D&D with you to know that is true. It's fine.
Yeah. So Dylan goes downstairs to give drugs to the dinosaur, but
and steal robes.
Yep. And so he's gonna steal robes, and then like the bones pop out, and then that's it. It's conveniently at the same time the witch is singing her song, and the bones come to life, and suddenly you have undead goblins. So you guys have to deal with that. And you eventually sort of deal with it, and eventually you discover it took a minute for you guys to sort of catch. Like I think Matt's character Thorn was like kind of dialing into what was going on. But this year, like, we're gonna go kill the goblins downstairs.
I mean, in fairness, I was a cleric. Their one weakness.
Yeah, and that was a good use.
I mean, that did work out in their favor. Yeah,
that was actually, things would have been a lot worse had you not like put up your little like shield.
Well, Thorn's character was like communicating with Meep, who could sense the undead.
Yeah.
So there was a direct link between the lower and upper deck.
Yeah.
That way.
Well, and two, like I had intended for once that happened, for the goblins to spill out onto the deck and for you to battle on the deck, right? In the deck, in the rain, whatever. So I had that intent the whole time, but because of Kadroth's shield, they were kept confined to the
Turn
bottom.
Undead for the win.
Yeah.
You can't get close to me. Shoot, God.
Yeah. I rolled poorly and messed up his shield.
Sure did.
Didn't you shoot me in the back of the head or something?
Yes.
I did.
Yep.
She did.
So,
and then you killed one, and I brought it back to life.
You
I tried to heal
did.
you, and then I healed the undead.
You sure did. But so like but that was a fun fight with the goblins. And then you barely had time to rest when your a siege started from one of the government ships. And then you guys were sort of being attacked. And then you had sort of like a deck battle and a sea battle at the same time. And ultimately, you guys were going to fire cannons, which, I was prepared for. I expected that to happen. I wanted that to happen. I was like, oh, they're going to fire cannons? I was like, there are cannons. And you guys were like, you took the bait. You're like, cool, we're going to fire the cannons. And I was like, great. And then you guys like, but what about the T-Rex? And then you're like, can we throw it over? And I was like, sure. Yeah, roll for it.
We all assisted, and we just yeeted it onto the ship.
Well, I mean,
didn't like 3 out of 4 of us all get a 10+?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that Thorin had perfect strength, like the highest you could get.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I got a perfect roll.
Yeah.
See, Podrick might have been an old man, but he weren't weak.
Yeah.
He had a +2 in strength.
That was one of my
I had a
few
plus
good
3 in
strength
strength.
rolls.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Stan went off the water, and Agnar jumped in the water to save Stan.
Mm-hmm.
So
you got to save the fuzzy animals.
That's right.
We napalm that other ship.
And then you guys dispatched was it 2 Minotaurs and a dwarf on deck while their ship ultimately burned into the ocean.
I gotta say, I'm very happy I didn't fudge the roll to get back on the ship.
Yes. Yeah, that could have been.
Yeah, that would have sucked.
Turns out Agnar can't swim. Oh no!
Choices and
Podrick
consequences.
jumps in heavy armor. What can go wrong?
All the things.
I just tie a rope to you as you jump off, so I can just pull you back.
So, but ultimately, like I said, you guys did manage to fend off all the attackers and destroy the other ship, and you made it. You made it to the island, and this is where things went south quick.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
worst island ever.
You made it to the island where the gods were having their summit, and you were going to go stop it. We had a number of people who just couldn't make it for a session, and so that's when we decided to do the side adventure with the drugs. Right? Now, that had no bearing on the plot whatsoever. It was entirely
Gummy
side
bears.
story. It's
Gummy dinosaurs.
It was filler. It was filler, but it was fun filler because you guys got unintentionally drugged, and then you went and cannibalized some rat men and some.
I will say, till this day, Mist will always, his mouth will always water at the smell of hobbits, and he still doesn't understand why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just happy I got to be a luchador for a little while.
Yeah.
A loot.
And so.
Yeah, I did a flying dick press into something.
You sure did.
I don't even remember what it was.
It was a flower.
Yeah, you did.
It was a flower.
It was.
So that was just a sort of a fun side adventure. And then another week went by and we did a one shot the next week because we had, I think, even less players that week. It just was not. It was not a good time.
Was that the Bard one shot?
No.
No.
That was the going to find the merweed.
The hidden stash, the stolen stash one.
That was the Summoner of Stumpy.
Yeah.
Crossbow.
Which we ended up having cannibalism 2 weeks in a row. I don't know what is that one shots and cannibalism, but it happened.
You rolled to take a bite out of a person.
Because Stumpy's uncle / not uncle was getting baked in weed leaves.
And we ate him.
I was gonna say, was I part of that?
You were. You
were. I was.
Yeah, you were.
I don't think I was a part of that because I don't remember.
For everyone not involved and who didn't
Thunder
watch that, Stumpy was just high the whole time.
Yeah. So
Cock, the hero we deserve.
No.
So after
not the hero we want. We deserve every bit of it. Have you seen the world?
I don't want to deserve it.
yeah.
The world we live in deserves that.
Yeah, that was
God.
the most quick and dirty game we've ever done because, like I said, there was no prep at all. I mean, zero prep. No one had characters. I didn't have anything prepped. We were just like, we threw.
You were like, wow, a ranger named Crossbow. How original. What's your pet's name? Arrow.
We threw together a game and played it in 2 hours.
Pull a spare cat out of my bag.
Which I mean,
Arrow 2.
It does.
I call it sword.
It does speak to the diversity of like Dungeon World. You can literally throw a game together and play it in 2 hours. So from nothing, just nothing. But then we didn't finally get back to our original campaign where you guys I gave you the option, well, a number of options as far as who to join and who to fight, and you decided you were gonna like side with Lou for the time. Yeah, that was not Kodroth's vote, but he got outvoted.
Yeah.
Introduction to my favorite character.
So you get to Lou's camp and you discover well, first of all, Agnar sort of pisses off a Minotaur and gets challenged to a duel. Then
old Jeff.
Then you meet up with Lou and find out that Lou is in fact Mist's daddy. And
oh, daddy.
I got it from my daddy.
Yep. And then you guys well, some of you have a nice little bout with some Minotaurs in the yard. You go toe to toe with them, and ultimately defeat them. And
yeah, I think it was just me and Kodroth until right at the end.
Yeah, so you and Kodroth, and then
the rest of us decided to sit back and watch because
you
all
like
started to fight for no reason.
Because Thorn was like, I'm gonna sit here until one of their healths gets super low.
I think we all did that though.
And then as soon as they were like, "Hey, my health,"
I think I only lost like 2 health total.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Kodroth was getting his ass kicked, but I snapped that Minotaur's horn off and made it my bitch.
You sure did.
Yeah, you did.
Kodroth told me that his health was below 10, and I was like, okay. And I took Meep and threw Meep at one of the Minotaurs, and that's how we joined in.
Yeah.
Turn the tide.
It was that was like a 3-on-2 fight in the beginning.
It was, yeah. It was 3-on-2, and yeah, they had some decent health too. Yeah, so after that, you guys.
I think it was like after one round after they hopped in, we ended up beating them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, literally that round.
Yeah, it happened pretty quick once you sort of like had numbers on your side, and then you guys sort of like made your way to where the Summit of the Gods was happening, and you guys were like super timid at like the base of the stairs. You were like,
you go in first. No,
Yeah,
you go
you
in
know
first.
trap,
Let's talk
man.
to him. He's your dad.
and so
Now I remember.
something fictionally happened that never got utilized. You took the 3 vials of fairy bones you had remaining and you tied them to a bomb.
Yep,
Right?
sure did.
Yeah.
And you never
Still in his inventory too.
you never
Well, we
used
ended
that
up
bomb.
beating the crap out of them so hard that we were like,
They
they don't
wouldn't
even
let
need
me
it.
use it.
Yeah.
I didn't get to hold the bomb. I invented the bomb mentally, but I was not the one with it. Otherwise,
let
it would have been
Kodroth hold
used
the bomb.
immediately.
Well,
No.
Yeah, that's why we didn't give it to you though, because we
Yeah.
didn't want to lose and trip balls.
Yeah. Well, and so really, because you guys showed up, we found, and here again, like Regan shows up. Regan's Lou's right hand man. He's been the war hero for the side, and then we find out at the end he's a turncoat, right? He joins Baelor, and
we could have drug bombed him, but no.
yeah. But y'all, he chose sort of he chose to become a lich, but you guys put him down, pretty quickly, I think.
I just checked my inventory for Mist. I do still have the fairy bone bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna come out one day.
All
And,
right.
We'll be a buddy.
His legacy
Party.
lives on in Agnar and in Mist Pocket.
Yeah. And but then you guys, the gods were fighting amongst each other, and you guys were sort of just annoyances to them at that point in time. But obviously, your hits didn't matter. Now, so I can tell you, I gave Baylor like 100 HP. He had pretty high HP. Lou only had 50 HP, but that's because he used a part of his life force to sort of keep Mist alive, because Mist got in a bad way.
Yep.
So he sacrificed half of his life to give Mist life. But when it was all said and done, sort of Baylor was defeated, and then Lou was defeated, and then Kadroth was like, "Haha! I just sink the cursed knife into you," you know.
In fair, yeah, I was gonna say I finished Lou off. I was like, I'm gonna kill a god now.
Yeah, and then like everything starts falling apart. Like the whole world just starts crumbling around you, and like there's a portal, but like before, it needs a sacrifice, and then Kadroth's like, "Cool, I got this. I kill myself." And I'm like, "Are you sure?"
I want to become one with the cat.
Yeah.
Look, Kadroth had a journey. He became an avatar of his god. He killed a god. Now he's going to join God.
Yeah.
As we were traveling through the portal and carrying him, I'm like, I heal him, and he's like, no, and I'm like, I heal him anyway.
Yeah.
And then I rolled very, very badly, and I ended up killing you harder. Huh?
You rolled like a 2.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was a terrible roll.
Worse. Like I killed you faster.
Yeah.
I tried to steal your glory.
Now he's more dead.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it like not yet, and then fucking slit his throat.
It's like yeet. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you guys you kill the gods, and you wind up back in the Tanglewood Forest, that sort of cursed place where it all begins and ends. And then we sort of Kadroth dies, and we're all sad about it. And then we flash forward about 3 months, and Gregoria is dead, and so you're all at his funeral.
We looted him first, but sure, yeah. He would have wanted. It's what he would have wanted.
And you find that when Gregoria dies, that he's written 3 books, and the 3 books are the Tanglewood, the Fall from Grace, and the Divine Rage. And these books detail those journeys, and they're to be distributed basically amongst the world. And that's sort of where like that closes, with his death and sort of your journey being immortalized in these books. But that's not where we end in the story, because we did another campaign where we followed what happened when you guys left, when you teleported out. And that brings us to Starship Troopers. No.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
It really was.
It was terrifying.
Yeah. So,
God, I hated it.
Seriously, that was probably the most terrifying campaign we've done.
Yeah.
That was horrifying.
Yeah.
Real quick, Mike, I've got to run because my phone is about to die.
Yeah, sure.
But I would like to explain that Jeff kills people because he feels it's better to kill them off then than wait.
Yeah.
And then kill him.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Lord. That is fair.
Yeah, man. Thanks for popping in, man.
I'll see y'all later.
Yeah, later, bro.
Bye.
Bye. I'm gonna duck out too. I have to be up at 5:50.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Hey, I'm getting 4:45. Right? I don't want to hear it.
I'm getting up at 5.
Some of us actually sleep.
That's a personal choice.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. And the right choice is to stay up later.
Love you all.
Later.
Great.
All right. Thanks. Thanks for coming in.
Later, man.
But so yeah, we did we followed some of the characters who were still left on the island, so we followed Tweeg the goblin, we fired Grom the troll, and then we followed Rose, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Rose, and we followed Rose, who are still all on the island. Rose was there because she had joined Baylor's faction. And Tweeg was there because he was part of the ship, and then Jeff, the Minotaur, was there because he was a part of Lou's army. The troll. Sorry, the troll. The troll was there, but nobody played the troll, so he was just on the ship fictionally.
Yeah.
But anyways, you guys, everything starts falling apart, and the bugs start coming out of the ground. Do y'all have any like when the bugs started emerging? What were your thoughts?
I have the least favorite moments, and that was every time I had to defy danger.
Yeah.
Because
mine
xenomorphs.
was just, oh shit. Yeah.
So, and I think part of the challenge too was, So your characters were all from very different backgrounds and points of view. So it for me it was like, how am I going to force these characters together? And I think it actually worked out good because when you guys first met up, you were all like, screw those people, I'm not working with them. But because like the danger was so real and present, you basically had no choice, right? You had to work together.
We ended up trauma bonding.
Yeah, and so and that was fun. And then like sort of like I said, Jeff had a number of relatives who ended up being on the island.
Bunch of assholes.
Jeff's relatives just need to go suck eggs, honestly.
Yeah.
They were terrible.
Jeff had a rough time because Jeff had to kill. He had to kill his brother, or not his brother, but his lover.
He didn't have to. He just straight up did.
He chose to. It was a choice. You're right. It was a choice.
He's like, "Good night, sweet prince," and just
we were like, "Whoa! Did he even need to die?"
Yeah. Well, but I understand because it was like he had to do something with it was the unknown, right? It was like, well, I can kill him now, or we can all be murdered in our sleep later, possibly. So, he made a choice for sort of the greater good, I think. And then you guys ended up in a cave with his father and brother, who were just buttholes,
Awful.
Yeah, and they didn't care about your lives at all.
Well, that's okay. We didn't care about theirs either.
That's true.
Eventually, you guys got attacked by one of the bug creatures in the cave, and they got to a point where they could just like dip out, and they're like, "See ya."
I was scared of getting hand pregnant.
Yeah. And then sort of.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, because also one of Jeff's friends was in there, and he ended up having to kill him too. Then you guys got out, and you managed to sort of escape a lot of the bugs and the things. You did discover along the way that they were using a mind control, which y'all mostly avoided. And then ended up having to confront Jeff's brother and father, who were under mind control. And then a giant horde of things formed up behind you, and you sort of like managed to escape the island barely as you like made it onto the ship. And as you were leaving out, sort of there were giant bugs in the ocean and just badness all around.
Mm-hmm.
So then sort of fictionally, that's where we are.
Question.
Yeah.
Are you going to make those bastards come back at us?
The bugs?
I already asked
like, if we never go back to that island ever, are we going to see those fucking things?
I thought the guild was on the island somewhere.
Guild's not on that damn
No,
island.
yeah, the guild's not on the island, no. Well, if you want it to be, sure.
No, we don't, no.
No, if I could make a nuke, I would use it there.
Yeah. So, well, so there are some of the bugs in the ocean, right? Because, I mean, the giant sea monster was out there, right? It exists.
Told me we'd be dealing with them eventually.
Yeah. So they're there, and we'll see just what happens with them as time progresses. Because I don't know yet. That's the decision that I have to make as time goes on.
Mm-hmm. I'm hearing Starship Troopers World is what I just heard.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, so do you guys have any questions about like the process or like anything? I mean, that are there any things that you haven't seen yet that you want to see, like that kind of stuff?
Less bugs.
Yeah.
I can't promise that.
In this campaign that they're doing, or just in general? Well,
so coming up. Well, is there anything from what we've already done that like you were hoping to see that you didn't see? Is I guess the question I'm asking.
I personally would like to fight a real dragon.
Okay. All right.
Maybe more town stuff, but we'll probably be doing that with the guild.
Yeah. So, I mean, the nice thing about where we're headed, like I said, because it's open world, is that you guys will have a lot more agency over the narrative. So, I mean, we'll have to deal with, like I said, you don't have to deal with, you can just let it get worse, but there will be any number of sort of world threats that are going on, but you can, by and large, choose to ignore those, at least for a time. You can ignore them until they get so bad that maybe they spill into your own personal dealings. So those things will just be happening, and from time to time you'll find out about like where they are, like what's happening. You'll receive news about, oh, this happened over here or that happened over there, and maybe even implications as to what that means. But you can short quest it. I mean, if you guys are starting a guild, which I think as we've talked, that seems to be a pretty big consensus that.
Yeah.
Well, if nobody wants to, then Mist is going to start his own small guild. So.
Yeah. So so when you start a guild, that opens up a lot of opportunities. First of all, a quest board, right? The guild will open a quest board. And I'll put quests on there, but then you guys can also submit quests that you want to do. So you say, oh, like I want to do like this kind of quest, and so we'll post them on the guild board, and your characters can decide to do it or not. And if we get like a decent following, eventually through Twitch or whatever, we can take submissions for things to go on the quest board. And just because something's on the quest board doesn't mean you have to do it. It'll just be there.
Suggestions, yeah.
Right. And if it's something, if something goes on the quest board that has sort of larger world implications, it's something that may turn into a bigger problem over time, if you don't take care of it. And something else that will be nice if we do the sort of the whole guild hall thing is that you can create new characters who are a part of the guild. Like, oh, like this character joins the guild and I want to play with this character for a while, So I will, going forward, all of your characters will be level 6, starting from the creation of the guild.
Sweet.
Yep.
Nice.
So question. Would that mean that all characters we're creating are also 6?
No. Every new character you create starts at level 1.
Okay.
This is like an RPG, an MMO, where like if you create a new character, they're going to start at level 1. You're going to have to level them up through doing quests and things. Right?
Little lobby quest,
and,
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, if you have
Mist is 6.
Yeah.
So and Tweeg, he's still alive, right?
Yeah, Tweeg can be.
So Tweeg
6.
is 6.
Yeah.
But all the rest of them was going to start at 1.
Yeah. So yeah, any character that you've created thus far, we will bump up to 6. But any new characters that you create going forward will start at level 1, and we may even assign to the quests like a level rating. Like, oh, this is more of like a level 1. Like, because if it's like, oh, we're gonna go clear out some sewer rats, that's a level 1 quest.
Yeah.
That's I mean, you can go do that as a level 6, but you're just gonna demolish it, right?
There should definitely be ratings on each
quest. So the more dangerous a quest sounds, we'll give it a rating. Like, oh, this is like a level 6 quest, or a level 7 quest, or a level 2 quest, or a level 5 quest, or whatever. And like I said, things we know that are already a problem in the world. We know that the Minotaurs and the dwarves, they're not getting along, and so they're going to have some conflicts here and there. Which will, escalate over time. We know that the Imp Corps, the group that Daniel's character Covid created, their sort of mission is to sort of create an evil empire of chaos. So they're going to be around and doing things and causing problems. So that's sort of a nice little world problem that's happening. You've got the Fae who have been persecuted for so long. I mean, for 200 years they've been persecuted now, and because the Minotaurs and the dwarves are so consumed with their own sort of problems with each other, they're not policing magic anymore as much because that was a directive from Lu, who is now gone. So the Fae now have more freedom, but they're mad and they're angry and they're upset because they've been persecuted, and that certainly will cause problems in the world as well. And of course, you've got all the bugs out there, right? So they're not on the mainland, but if they're in the sea, then certainly that's going to cause problems in the sea, isn't it? And that's going to affect trade and any number of other things. So
but couldn't we conclude that if they're in the sea, they'll be on the mainland?
Maybe eventually, that's possible.
I mean, they do seem like they walk around on land pretty easy when they're chasing us down.
Yeah. Well, the ones who are in the sea may be aquatic bugs. We don't know, right? We just don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Either way, still not good.
Right. And so there are already some major problems in the world, but it's not, incumbent upon your group to necessarily deal with those things. There's no imperative. You don't work for the government, and you don't have anyone charging you with that quest specifically yet, anyways. So those are things where you're like, oh man, this is really a big problem. Maybe we should deal with it, or maybe we don't. maybe we just do these other quests, and like our lives are wildly unaffected by these things, so we're not worried about it right now. So some of the things we'll probably go through in the upcoming campaign is we're going to look at where on the map you're going to be looking at basing yourselves out of and stuff like that. So, and the other the other nice thing about the guild hall is it allows players to come in and out. So, like if you want to come in for a little while and then dip out, you can, because like I said, we can do things with various characters. So. That gives other people the agency to join in and leave as they please, I guess. So, and like I said, I think the open world will be nice. It'll give us more opportunity to expand the world too, because we can explore more of what's going on. So,
okay,
yeah,
sounds good.
Yeah. And do you have any more questions regarding the games or anything like that?
So one thing that popped in my mind that I thought would be interesting is if we could do a game where like each person plays like a different god from like different mythologies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I thought that would be pretty neat. Like, say somebody could play as Thor.
Yeah.
Somebody could play as someone from Chinese mythology.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so we could do that
Japan mythology,
we could
stuff
either
like that.
Do that.
That'd be pretty neat
as like a one shot, or because I've created the timeline for this, and this world is, it's 50,000+ years old.
Yeah.
And so there was a time of just gods before like the humans even existed. So we could do it canon in this world, or we could, like I said, just do a one shot where we create custom characters with their own powers.
Because I was wanting to see if I could play the Monkey King.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, I had brought up gods before, and at the time you were pretty booked, but
So yeah, I mean, those are things we can definitely explore.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Joel could play as Thor.
I want to be Baelor.
Oh, you want to be Baelor?
Young Baelor.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we could totally do like the Fomorian, because we know the Fomorian and Tuatha De Danann war happened, right? But we don't know any details about it. We just know that it happened, and that ultimately the Fomorians lost.
Oh, right? Man, you'd make Dylan stay because he could play Kratos.
I was about to say, Dylan would play Kratos. Joel would be what? I just forgot what you just said.
Now, fictionally, we've discerned that Kratos was a lesser god, because the Fomorians and Tuatha De Danann were greater gods. And then before them were even like the primal gods who created the other gods. But like, yeah, so like Kratos and like the gods that like all the clerics and paladins are serving will all be like lesser gods in this world. But they still have a place in time where they were created and exist. So
then I could be Lunera, the moth god, the one that Rose was praying to, the god of apathy.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, yeah. So next week we'll launch sort of with the new branding and all that, and we'll start I guess what I will call season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
cool.
Yep. So, anything else you want to discuss, or are we good?
No, it should be it.
Everyone's
I might
tired.
be better prepared next time. Maybe we'll do a DM Q&A again.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, well, thanks again for the last 6 months. It's been fun, and I look forward to doing more and hanging out and playing and having fun.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thank you guys. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, hey, Mike. Just give me a holler tomorrow if you can find that
hat.
hat.
Pirate hat. Yep, will do.
All right. Later, dude.